Welcome to episode 55 of the Walleye Chronicles. Growing up, what'd you want to do? Work in fisheries? Move to Alaska? Become a hunting guide? A fishing guide? Well, this guy's done it all, so sit back and enjoy Lars Sorensen, everybody. Another episode of Walleye Chronicles where I get you off the boat, off the ice, or wherever you're at, and we start talking some fishing. This week, in this episode, I have Lars Sorensen of Fort Peck Guide Service. And I want to talk to somebody from Fort Peck. I want to talk to somebody from Montana. This guy's been doing a lot, has a lot of interesting things about his life. So I got Lars on today. So Lars, tell me about Montana a little bit.
Well, right now we're kind of in the dog days of summer. We're starting to get some cooler mornings, cooler nights, and getting really warm during the day. The fishing around here is absolutely phenomenal right now. It's one of the best years I've ever seen on Fort Peck. So
awesome. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I believe you spent some time in Alaska, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep. I was up there for almost 10 years.
So let's kind of go back and kind of take me through a little bit of your childhood. Let's get into Alaska a little bit and then on to Fort Peck. So where'd you grow up? How'd you start fishing?
Well, I grew up fishing Fort Peck, grew up in the town of Fort Peck. My dad was really involved in the tournament scene. So it was like every time we're going fishing was pre-fishing for a tournament, and getting ready for that. All throughout high school, fishing every chance I got. I was privileged enough to be able to take my dad's boat and use that on the weekends or after school and go fish. And then graduated, went over to North Dakota for fisheries, and then ended up down in South Dakota for power line construction and maintenance. And as a lineman, that's what inevitably took me up to Alaska.
Okay.
Traveled around rural Alaska working on power lines for 4 or 5 years. And then I was a fishing guide up there for a season. And then I started on with Alaska Department of Fish and Game for, probably 5 years, 4 or 5 years with them.
So you were a lineman in Alaska.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So you've been in some backwoods, no place. I mean, you were making the path basically. So
yeah,
you've been
pretty
in no
much.
man's land. What is that like up there when are you with a couple other guys or just you or kind of just a little group? What's it like when you're literally in no man's land?
Well, we were traveling around from village to village out there and there's no roads. You're either traveling by boat or by plane, a little bush plane more or less. And a lot of your work was solo. If you had a bigger project, you'd have some other guys helping you. But just a lot of solo adventures out there and kind of planned work around the tides. If you're close to a river where fishing's good, you'd fish all day and work all night. So
I suppose because you have the 24-hour light that's at some point, right?
Yep, exactly.
So did you want to just stay up there? Was there any chance that you wanted to stay up there and never come back? I mean, that's
literally something I think about almost every day is missing Alaska. But my family's here, and I was gone for a total of probably about 12 years, 13 years. So it was time to come back. But
so you
get back to my roots.
Did you get to be up there 10 years? I'm guessing you were able to catch most everything you wanted to catch, harvest most everything you wanted to catch, shoot what you wanted to shoot. Everything was pretty.
Almost. Never got my doll sheep. And, when I was working for Alaska Department of Fish and Game, doing stream surveys and stuff, we were around bears all the time. And at the time, I didn't really have a desire to shoot a big brown bear. And now that I'm down here and we don't have that opportunity, it's like, I wish I would have, but. Yeah.
So obviously you went to school for fisheries and then you ended up in the power industry, right? So what got you up in Alaska? What got you from the power to the fisheries where you're like, hey man, this is something I want to do and I'm going to do it here and let's just go?
I kind of got burnt out at work, as we all do. And it was kind of becoming a grind. And then I just had a harebrained idea just on a whim. Put my 2 weeks notice in. And about 10 minutes later, I had a job as a fly fishing guide up there. So I kind of took that, did that and really enjoyed that for a season. It was kind of a rough around the edges it taught me a lot in the guiding industry, I guess. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's got its pluses and minuses as far as that went. And then I had a buddy in Southeast Alaska that I actually went to high school with in Glasgow, Montana. He was running a crew for Alaska Department of Fish and Game, and he messaged me randomly and asked if I was interested in the job. And I was like, well, yeah, sure, let's do it.
So then you worked for them for about 5 years. What'd you do for up there?
So the main job I worked on was Chinook salmon research. We would start in the spring, and you're just basically throwing little minnow traps out in these estuaries and these streams, and you're catching smolt, young of the year Chinook salmon. And then we're putting a CWT, a coated wire tag. It's about 1 millimeter long in their nose. And then we cut off their adipose and we release them back into the wild. And that transitions into summer where we do some in-river gill netting to catch them as they're coming back. Yep. And then we're looking for the fin clips to see how many coated wire tags we're getting back to get a population estimate.
That's down and dirty work, man.
It was. It was. I mean, rain or shine, you're going out. But right. Running a jet boat in remote Alaska and British Columbia wasn't bad.
Did you have any close counters with anything, with animals, or getting broke down or stuck or any of that kind of stuff?
Oh, I mean, that was a daily occurrence. Yeah. Lots of bears, especially. So after the in-river netting, we'd go into the late summer, fall when they're in their spawning streams and you're sampling them in their spawning streams and areas and stuff. And you'd round the corner and there'd be a big brown bear 10, 15 yards away from you. And they didn't really care. They had all the feed they needed, so they didn't bother you too much. But
wow, that's a crazy way to look at it. So what was your living up there? Was it like, you're just in a kind of cabin, or was it like you're pretty remote living, or were you tenting it, or?
It was all really remote. Ketchikan was the closest town, and that was probably 80 miles away. All fly in or boat, and we were staying in wall tents up on platforms, like 13-foot tall platform. So
whew.
Yeah,
I'm guessing at the time you were a younger man, right? So that probably was the greatest. You never want. That was your dream, probably, huh?
Oh, it was awesome, and I still miss that to this day too. It was great. You get a food flight like once to twice a week. Get our news from the pilot. Get our food, and that was our only contact with the outside world, and it was excellent. No drama, nothing.
That is crazy. Wow, no alcohol too, right?
We had some beer out there, but minimal. You had to ration it.
You can't go on a bender on the first night, right?
Right. Oh, it happened, but yeah, try not to.
So you did. So, what were you fishing for up there?
Up there, so pretty much you're fishing all day, catching these kings, the Chinook salmon, coho salmon every once in a while. There was a lot of really good fly fishing for some bull trout, dolly varden, cutthroat. And then on times off when you are back in town, of course, you got your halibut, lingcod, and stuff.
So is there any freshwater type, like what we would know in the States, or is it all basically all trout or some version of trout or salmon?
Yeah, it's pretty much all trout and salmon in the streams and stuff. There's quite a few lakes, more interior Alaska, that have a lot of pike and really good pike fishing up there. Cool. Excellent. Top-notch pike fishing.
Top-notch. So then you transitioned back to Montana. Was it through a job, getting a job with I think because you work for the Montana Wildlife as well?
Yep. So I summertimed with Montana FWP, and when I decided that it was probably time for me to move back, I messaged the lake biologist here on Fort Peck Reservoir, and asked if he had any summertime jobs just to get my foot in the door. And he was like, well, actually I do. So I did that again for a summer. And then I also guide elk hunters and deer hunters in the fall. And he was kind of knocking at my door trying to get me to move back and do a couple fall trips for him. And so everything kind of lined on that. And then did that for a summer and then guided in the fall. And then it was late winter, early spring the next year. I applied for a job at the Fort Peck fish hatchery and got that. So
wow, that's a big hatchery too.
It is a really big hatchery.
I noticed when I was doing my research today. I'm like, what? At first I'm like, is this like a sewer plant or whatever, a water plant? I'm like, wait a minute, there's no people there. And I zoomed in, I'm like, oh my god, that is a massive. So what are you guys doing at hatchery? You doing walleyes and everything, or because you got all kinds of stuff in there?
Yeah. So the main ones were walleye, Chinook salmon, and then rainbow trout. That's what we did there. Yep.
So is there natural reproduction up there of walleyes, or?
Yeah, there's really good natural reproduction of walleye in Fort Peck Reservoir. But the supplements from the hatchery are making it's phenomenal. I mean yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Tell me about Fort Peck. I've watched TV shows of guys fishing there. I've watched tournament things fishing there. I've spent the last 15 minutes before you got on with you and tried to find a place to fish. And I don't know how long, I wouldn't make it very far because there's just too much stuff. So tell me about Fort Peck. How big is it? How long it's been going? I don't know how long it's going on, but when everything was going, and give me the rundown.
So the dam of Fort Peck was built in the 30s and they made the reservoir. It's roughly 130 miles long with I think it's 200 and some thousand surface acres. So it's a big reservoir. I mean, there's endless opportunities out there. It's a super, super abundant fishery. I mean, we have world-class smallmouth bass fishing. We have great northern pike fishing. There's walleye fishing, of course, is probably one of the biggest draws. Lake trout, that's another big draw that brings a lot of people. The Chinook salmon, it's the only place in Montana you can go catch Chinook salmon, and for the surrounding areas, really. I mean, North Dakota and South Dakota, they have some, but
yep.
And then there's all sorts of rough fish. The catfishing in the reservoir is phenomenal too, if you can dial that in. There's just a little bit of everything. If you want to fish crappie, there's perch. Yeah.
So what's the lake? Is it deep? I mean, what's your?
So our deepest point is right around that 200 feet. The old river channel that runs from the dam all the way heading west up to the river. Generally you're seeing like 160, 150 feet. So
the water, how's the water clarity?
It's pretty good. One thing I gotta say is we do not have zebra mussels yet. So it's clear, but it's not gin clear, you know.
I gotcha. And is there current? Or how much current is there?
Being a reservoir with the powerhouses down below and stuff, there is a minute current. It's different points of the lake, you can notice it more so than others, but generally that's like when they're dumping a bunch of water out, or if the spillway's running, then you can notice it a little bit more, but for the most part you don't notice it.
I would assume the spillways are more kind of like springtime when everything's
the spring runoff, or if the reservoir's high and like Sakakawea needs more water or something, they'll dump it out. Last year they did they dumped a bunch of water out for the pallid sturgeon to move up the river and stuff. And test flows for that. So
it kind of feels like it's probably a good thing when it's in Montana, but I feel like if it was any closer to anybody else, people would flock to that nonstop all the time. And because I've noticed that there's really no buildings. I mean, everything's pretty much undeveloped. There was only, I think, one little sliver that went out that had houses on it, but most of it was pretty barren.
So for being 130 miles long, there's only 5 or 6 different access boat ramps on the entire reservoir. Like it's pretty remote for the most part. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 different cabin areas on the entire lake, and that's it. So
yeah, it definitely looks like a place to enjoy.
Yeah.
So what kind of tactics are you? What kind of tactics traditionally work well out there?
Growing up, kind of like anywhere, is always pulling bottom bouncers, Lindy rigs and stuff, spinners, spinning glows, and then it kind of transitioned into more people cranking, a lot of pitch and jigs, and
Mm-hmm.
then now with the forward facing sonar, jig wrap game
Yeah.
is huge. My favorite thing to do is jigging a crawler. I mean, that's getting more popular everywhere, it seems like,
Right.
but yep.
So is it basically all rocky shoreline? I mean, is it all rocks or there's
No,
different kinds of shoreline?
so a lot of it, what we have around here is it's called bear paw shale, and it's like a really mucky, soft bottom. I mean, it's
Right.
not there is some sandstone rock piles and stuff, but you don't really have the gravel shorelines and the sandy
Okay.
beaches and stuff. A lot of just mucky, nasty, soupy stuff. But
I suppose. So what's the forage for the walleyes and the fish up there?
so it was like mid '80s, FWP stocked a bunch of Cisco in into the reservoir. I think they did it 3 consecutive years, and then there might have been another time later on that they stocked them. I can't remember for sure on that, but Cisco are the main food source out there for everything. I mean, we're catching
Gotcha.
smallmouth bass that are plugged with Cisco, and yeah. So,
You want to grow some fish fast. Get something that's got oil in them and feed it to them.
yeah.
It really,
Right, exactly.
it really help powers them up really fast. Hey listeners, let's talk outdoor streaming. What is the best outdoor streaming platform out there? Well, it's simple. It's Fix TV. Not only do they have this great program, but they have all kinds of hunting and fishing shows along with some weaponry shows. So when you get bored and need something to do, get your fix with Fix TV.
Yep.
So tell me about what it's like out there fishing. So what are we looking for when we're going out there? I can't even really. I urge people to pause now and go look at a map of Fort Peck because it is. I don't even know how to describe it. The amount of fingers that stick on this thing and the creek channels that come in, all that stuff is just there's so much of it.
So one of my things, it just depends what I'm going out to do. If I'm going out for, say, to catch big fish, if I just want to go do some catch and release on those 27 to 32 inchers, I'm gonna run out there and hit these main lake points and point and hop, and probably stick a little deeper. If I want to just go out there and catch limits of some nice eaters, I'm going to bump in shallower, maybe hit the back bays, find the weed lines and stuff. So,
okay. So there is weed lines and all that kind of fun stuff too.
Yep.
I was going to say, I just lost my train of thought. God darn it. Anyways, so are you, okay, I know what I was gonna say now. I guess there's not a lot of pressure. You see, is there a lot of boats out there? I mean, it's a big area. So if you put a couple hundred boats, I would assume you won't see people very often, or I guess it depends what you're fishing for too. If you said, I mean, is it the landings are probably pretty full of people, and as you go down the lake 10 miles away, you can be by yourself kind of thing?
I mean, it's a big reservoir, but there's all these little each area has its own point that everybody flocks to because it's just notorious for holding fish.
Yep.
And they're kind of the community holes, and they're scattered all throughout the lake that you can go there on any given day, and I'm sure there's going to be someone there. But being such a big reservoir, I mean, all these fish aren't on 5 different points throughout the whole reservoir.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of fish out there. You can get away. One thing that a couple of the tournament guys have been proven lately is do something different, maybe go to these secondary points, go back in the bays and find these bigger fish, and it since 2020, there's been a big influx of people coming this way. It's been discovered. I remember growing up and fishing here as a kid, like never saw anybody. Boat ramps were never busy. Yeah. And it's pretty incredible now just to see the change. Even like the town of Fort Peck itself, there's a lot of development going on. It may not look like it because it is a small town, but yeah.
Does everybody welcome it out there? Because I kind of feel like, As I look at a map of the state or of America or the Midwest, right, and there seems to be this circle forming of awesome walleye destinations from like Green Bay, Minnesota, North Dakota, you guys, and back down around through Nebraska. And I'm like, man, it's like a circle of walleyes here, and you guys are one of the farthest west place to get to, but it seems like people are putting that on. Fort Peck is on the map now, right? And
Right.
When you talk about the places you have to go, that is one of the ones that everybody has to get to at least one time. And it's a little farther away for most. I mean, I would say most walleye guys are located in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, but like it's on everybody's destination now. And it's a little too far for a lot of us to do yearly like Lake Erie, but it's definitely, to me, going to be a chip for people every couple of years to get out there and see what it's all about.
And Fort Peck's always been notorious ever since, I mean, even when I was a kid and stuff, it's always been notorious as a big fish lake. It's never been one of those lakes that you're going to come here and get limits of eaters. You're going to fish for a week and maybe pop one or two 30+ inch walleye, and over the last few years, we've had some big age classes coming up in the reservoir, and there's a lot of big fish out there now. And to go out there, and I mean, these tournaments are proving it too. When you're putting up 50 pounds a day, there's some big fish out there.
So when those guys came to town, and I've seen it happen a couple times. What did the locals think was going to happen when what did they think that was going to get caught versus what was caught? Because I mean, I've been places where we go to town and the local guides and locals are like, oh, they're going to catch this, and this. And then these guys that are literally do this for a living come to town and just bring in huge bags. Is that kind of what you guys thought was going to happen when they came to town? Of course, they can't, they really started coming to town with forward-facing sonar, which made it not a little easier, but I mean, they can target the exact fish they want better.
Right. So, okay, to answer your first question there, I guess, like, there's a lot of local people are a little roughed up about it, but like we were talking earlier, it's such a big, massive reservoir that there's places you can go to get away from people. You may have to fish a different point than you always fished growing up and stuff, but there's ways around that. I don't see it. I've fished Devil's Lake and Sakakawea, and I've fished all numerous places before, and where you're lined up side by side doing a drift with 50 other boats, and so I go fish Fort Peck, and there may be 3 other people on a point, and that doesn't bother me one bit. Some people get a little chippy, but you're going to have that. It's right. I don't understand those people, because it's like, we're out here to enjoy it. There's plenty of stuff.
Did they think them kind of weights could be caught like that out there though? By non-locals?
When that first started to happen, it was super eye-opening, because we always knew these fish existed out there. Mm-hmm. We just didn't know how to target them besides pulling cranks suspended out there deep and stuff. Yep. And you'd pull for miles and pick up a couple here and there. And now with the forward-facing sonar, it's like they're just reiterating what we've always known. And I love doing it, because it's like I've known these fish were out here, and I can do it myself now. A lot of these people, all our tournaments are falling off the edge. A lot of the local guys won't even fish them anymore because of the advancements with forward-facing sonar.
Do they just not want, and just not their thing to get involved in, or is it money a thing, or just don't really need it?
I don't understand it, because they say it's so expensive, but all these guys are driving $70,000 pickups, and $100,000 boats. So it's like, the expense part, I don't get. And I mean, I was able to afford it, and I don't make a lot of money. I grind for my money, and I can afford it. So like that doesn't resonate with me as much. I think it's just stubbornness stuck in their ways of 2D sonar is how fishing's supposed to be. So.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the whole forward-facing sonar thing, it's weird, because you watch, the bass world kind of is melting down over it, I think. I mean, I kind of feel like they're kind of melting down. But the walleye world, for most part, has kind of accepted it, and the fact that not necessarily is like you said earlier, we had no idea these fish were where they were, right? We had no idea they were suspended over 60, 70, 80, 100 feet, whatever. That never dawned on most of us, right? It was always fish to the bottom and catch your fish and whatever, and just for us to be able to know that this is where all those fish were, because we all knew there was big fish out, right? I mean,
Right.
you catch one every now and then, and it made no sense why you caught that fish, and you never could duplicate it because they were doing things that we weren't not trained, but we grew up not to fish a certain way, right? Like you said, the Lindy rig, whatever came out of in fishermen, that's how we were fishing. It wasn't any of this bass stuff that's now really pushing itself into our industry. And I think a lot of us are like, oh, this is kind of fun, actually, right? To catch fish this way. It's not easy to do. It can be very difficult. I mean, the whole, if it's not a calm day and you got wind and you're trying to control your trolling motor of the boat, your cast, see what you're doing, and not, all that stuff is difficult to do. So it's funny how some places haven't really embrace the forward-facing sonar.
Right.
I mean, I guess I kind of understand bass fishing more, but I think that has more to do with a perfect storm of COVID and a bunch of people with a bunch of time and a brand new technology. They were to learn faster than everybody else because everybody's getting there. I don't know where you're at in your evolution of forward-facing sonar. I'm probably, if the top walleye guy's at a 10, and somebody proficient's at an 8, I'm probably at a 6, right? I'm still trying to put the time in to get into it, to really figure things out. And I think I've got most on a nice calm day, I'm good to go. When it gets a little rough, the boat control, to me, the boat controls everything with it. Figuring that out. I don't know where are you at with.
So this is the first year since I've been back. I haven't fished a tournament, and I told myself at the end of last year, I really need to buckle down with forward-facing sonar, and I feel like I'm pretty proficient with it. Just put on a clinic the other day, and that's when it was like, all right, I think we're getting there to where I want to be. But I mean, one of my biggest things that I always tell people is like, every day you're on the water, every day you're in the hills hunting or doing whatever, you should be learning.
Yep.
And to put a cap on it, to say like I need to be at a 10, I don't think that number exists. Like, you should always be striving to get better. To put a number on myself, I don't even know. I'm fairly proficient. Probably ready to maybe stick my toes back in one tournament here and there, and I don't have faith that I'll win it, but I just enjoy it. So
yeah, and it's one of those things where like I sit back and I find the fish, and it's easier to find fish, which is awesome, right? But I also fall back into, I don't know if this is where it kind of happens sometimes. I fall back into using my old methods because I know where they are now. And like, I can go to a point, okay, there they are, jig and crawler, work on a thing, make it happen. Suspended fish, okay, it's a little, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, I use it to catch and watch me catch the fish at the same time. It's kind of where I'm lacking. We're like watching the jig and picking up on the jig where it goes. I do believe I can cast pretty much right where it needs to go. And that's actually pretty crazy that your body learns how to do that. I mean, I guess we're all played sports. So if it's throwing a football, it's the same basic thing. You just got to kind of it blows my mind. You can just cast and look at that. I was 46 feet where I meant to cast. And it is a very interesting thing. But as I tell people, I say it's so easy. And I'm like, I get it that people think it's so easy, but you watch with like Dewey Jelm or those guys that are super high level, there's no way you could put me in the same boat right next to these guys with the same exact stuff, and I ain't going to be able to do that. I'll probably never be able to do that, right? They are just so in tune of what they're doing, and it's not that easy. I mean, it's a very good tool to find the fish, and what you do with it after that, it's kind of up to you, right? If you rely on your old techniques, or if you I recently stopped taking trolling rods with me. I'm like, I'm going to do this. We're going to do this and see what happens.
When I'm out there with clients, I'll use it just to find the fish, see where they're at, if they are off bottom or if they're hugging tight to bottom. And then I just set my rigging gear down at whatever depth I think those fish are, and then we just pull through them. I've had a handful of clients that are really into it and want to learn how to use it and everything. And then I also have a lot of clients that are like, nope, leave that thing in the box. Like, we're not even looking at it.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I don't think forward-facing sonar is going to put more fish in the boat than, say, pulling a slow death hook. I mean, that absolutely crushes numbers for me
Right.
anyway.
Right.
And all the forward-facing sonar is going to do is let me target those bigger fish.
Yep.
So
Awesome. I mean, and then you add, things like, I don't know, I still, side imaging has been, I don't know, that came out the perfect time for where my brain was at that time. And I picked up on that immediately, and not that it's hard to pick up on, but it's like something that I use that in my daily thing. And that's kind of like, I look at that first, and then, I look at this and kind of pick up my spots.
and you say it's not easy, but there's some intricacies with side scan. That to be proficient, you should be picking up on that. And I think it's another good thing to have in your repertoire is to be able to read side scan correctly. And
right, and that's funny because you just point that out. That like if I apply that to what I just said about forward-facing sonar, it's interesting that I've come so proficient in it. It's just like, you just look at the thing and here's your brakes, here's this or that, right? You don't realize that somebody new probably is having the same struggles with that versus everything else too as well.
Exactly. Yep.
That's a valid point. So what? So you obviously that's walleye fishing. Tell me about the other fishing out there. Is there, like you said, the salmon's good. There's basically everything out there, smallmouth. So what are the other ones? Are the other stuff look like?
So right now the Chinook salmon are firing on all cylinders. I mean, there's probably at any given day there's 200 to 300 boats out there trolling for salmon. And it gets pretty chaotic. That's another one that people just tend to group together and stay in this big pack right out in front, but which is unnecessary. I mean, I proved that this year, and a bunch of other guys proved it too. You can spread out these salmon are throughout the whole lake, but yeah, that's really fun pulling. Usually go with downriggers and flashers and just your typical salmon trolling stuff. And jigging lake trout is another big draw that I kind of touched on. Like we get a lot of people coming here just to jig lake trout, and I don't like doing it this time of year just with surface temps at like 72 degrees right now, and you're catching them in 120 feet or so
Ain't gonna
at
make it.
like no at 55 degree down there, pulling them up to 70, and not very good odds for them. But
yeah.
Springtime though, it's super fun, especially when you can find them in that 40 to 60 feet of water and have some like 30, 40 fish days. Yeah.
Wow. Is there muskie out there?
No, we not in Fort Peck Reservoir. There's some ponds around the area that are stocked with tiger muskie.
Okay.
Just as like population control for some perch or something. But
that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you ice fish?
Yes, sir. Yep. Fort Peck is shown me time and time again. It is the hardest lake for me to ice fish.
I was gonna say because that seems to be rough. Because there's it's almost too big in a way, really. Like there's too much shoreline, there's too much this, there's just a lot.
Right.
And
the lake trout through the ice, I mean, that's a ball of fun. You gotta have some ways to get around, usually a side by side, but the ice out there, I mean, generally to get out to lake trout stuff, you're looking at maybe a month of having good enough ice to fish them. We have a really short season for that. And then the walleye fishing, I can count on one hand how many times, and I run tip ups quite a bit, but my goal is to go out there and have one day every winter of jigging them up. And I can count on one hand how many times throughout my life that I've been able to jig up more than 5 walleye in a whole entire day or even a weekend,
it's just a lot to cover, man.
It is indeed. And with the limited access, I mean, it's tough. But.
So does it, do you get a lot of snow on the ice that makes it crappy, or is insulation, or how does that work?
It's just such a big body of water. It won't freeze until middle of January. Usually we get our first good freeze on it. Yeah.
I would expect that it would have been earlier.
Right.
But we got a big turnover. It has to
Yep.
Thermal's got to flip. That's a lot.
Exactly.
20 feet of water. That's a
Yep.
lot to do. It's basically a Great Lake in a way.
Yeah, it's very similar, and then so we'll freeze up mid-January, and then ice is usually off at the end of March. So
What's the spring walleye run look like? I mean, obviously the dam's there. Do they go up there to spawn off the
um,
shoals kind of thing? And
so there's numerous areas that are known for just spawning areas of them, and they get hit pretty hard in the spring. Ooh, excuse me. Up the Big Dry Arm, that's where FWP conducts their netting and does the walleye spawn up there and stuff, and that can be really good. I like fishing it early because as soon as the spawn is happening, they shut down like any other fish out there, and it gets pretty tough. But when the spawn's happening up there at 50-degree water temps down in the main lake over closer to town, we're still at 43-degree water, so it's still early there, and you can go to different portions of the lake that have these little natural spawning grounds, and it'll be different temperatures, so you're at different times of the spawn on the same day.
I suppose you got all those little creeks everywhere too that are basically
Yep.
spawning grounds in a way,
Right?
right?
Yep.
And they're all going to have different water temperatures, different fish that go up and.
Yep.
So do a lot of the fish from west come up that way then, or?
Yeah, there's a little bit of natural progression that happens, and it kind of, even in the fall time, you can notice these fish are starting to stage out more on the end of these main lake points and getting ready. And there's a big natural progression that happens in the spring, late winter, spring, and they're moving to the main portion of the lake and then pushing up the dry arm and heading to these little areas. And then they'll sit out in 15 to 20 feet waiting for that water temp to start raising, and then they push in shallow. So
wow, it's just amazing. I mean, and it's God country too. I mean, your view every day is, I mean, it's got to be gorgeous.
You can hit three different sections of the lake, all within 15, 20 minutes boat ride, and just see so many different landscapes. It's pretty diverse. You can go up the dry arm and it's just all scorio and sandstone and some juniper. You can head over to the pines, we call it, and it's all pine coniferous trees. And yeah,
that is crazy. That is just crazy. So so when you're going out, what's your favorite time of year to fish out there, and kind of what you doing?
favorite time of year is anytime I can get the boat in. Aside from winter, winter can be tough, but favorite time of year, the spring bite's super fun. Pitching light jigs and paddle tails, or light jigging a minnow. That can be really, really, if you want your big fish, probably early spring and late fall.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So when do the most people come in from out of town? Is there a certain time where the tourist guys are coming in?
So as far as walleye fishing goes, we don't get a huge influx of people for that. Springtime, of course, you'll get more and more people showing up. May, there's a lot of people. And then from May, it goes right into a lot of people come for the lake trout, jigging lake trout.
Okay.
So June, July, and into August. August is, they're piled up out there in 120, 140 feet right now. And I know a lot of people like beating them up, but that's all right. So.
That's funny. So you moved down there to go to work for Montana fishing game. So what do you do for them on Fort Peck?
Well, I was so when I first moved back, I was working on the lake crew, and we were doing population assessments throughout the whole lake for walleye, Chinook salmon, lake trout, Cisco, and then doing some creel surveys and stuff. And then I moved into working at the hatchery, where we were raising rainbow trout, Chinook salmon, walleye, pretty much all year round. We had 1 month that we didn't have fish in the building. Wow. And that's all just maintenance, getting caught up on it. And then here this spring, I just hung my coat up on that and started up my own business and doing the fishing guiding. Okay. And then,
so how's that been?
It's been great. no regrets on quitting my real job and living my dream now. So it's been
So,
good. Been doing a lot of trips over on Nelson Reservoir, which is a smaller reservoir, but the fishing over there is fantastic. I mean, if you want to load up cooler full of eaters, it's just it's a fish factory over there. And
gotcha.
you know,
So, and you do other guiding stuff too, or just fishing, or do you do hunting and stuff like that? Tell me about that stuff, because you guys do. I mean, you got elk, you got all kinds of fun stuff up there. It's Montana,
yep,
right? I mean,
yep. So here, next week, I think a week from tomorrow, I'll be heading out to elk camp, and I'll be out there until mid-October, and we'll be doing archery elk. And then
wow.
antelope
What?
season opened up August 15th, so I've already been chasing them with the bow. And
So what's that? What's that look like for someone that wants to come over there elk hunting? Is it um, not really success rate, but what you're going to see and what you're going to have to work for and all that kind of fun stuff?
so for here, it's all limited entry here. It's kind of a tough tag to draw. You can figure for an archery tag, non-resident, you can figure once every 2 to 5 years probably you can draw it. And then as a resident, you can get it every year. There's not a huge population of elk, but the population of elk we do have is, I mean, they're all good, healthy bulls. And the one thing that's a little askew is our bull to cow ratio is really high. Like we have a lot of bulls out there, and
That's a
yeah,
good thing.
it's a good thing. Yeah, I would like to see maybe a few more cows out there on the landscape, but no, it's fun. It's a good time. It's a little. It's not. I get a lot of clients out there, and I take them out to this spot, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna walk in here about 4 miles in and stuff, and they're like, oh, there's elk out here. This doesn't look like elk country. There's not a tree in sight. And it's yeah, well, they're out here. Just gotta trust the process, and
So a lot of glassing, sneaking
a
down
lot of
ravines, that kind of stuff.
yeah, a lot of glass and a lot of walking. We do a fair amount of calling. Just like if you have two clients in front of you, I mean that's the easiest way to pull a bull into you is calling. But if you don't set up correctly, and they can see miles, so if you rip a call and they don't see anything, they're not going to come. They're probably going to run away actually. So um, it's pretty challenging in its own way. Really steep, nasty draws and dry, hot.
Wow. Getting
For
stuff out of there can be fun, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite thing is
Is
I
it
can't have a heavy enough pack. I just love it because that's a sign of success in my eyes. So
right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. People don't, think about that kind of stuff as part of the journey, right? They don't think
yeah,
about get out there and get your chance at one. And then, a lot of people I talk to that have been successful, the everything after release of the arrow has been the best part for them.
right,
And it's kind of
yeah,
crazy that way that
yep.
that's the end of your journey is getting that guy back and carrying all
There's,
the fruits of your labor back.
in my opinion, there's never a reason to say like, oh, I can't shoot it over there because how are we going to get it out?
Hey listeners, let's talk outdoor streaming. What is the best outdoor streaming platform out there? Well, it's simple. It's Fixed TV. Not only do they have this great program, but they have all kinds of hunting and fishing shows along with some weaponry shows. So when you get bored and need something to do, get your fix with Fixed TV.
One step at a time, man.
Right? Yeah.
Do it at night when it's nice and cool, and take your time.
So do you guys have do you have issues with bear and stuff like that up there when you shoot them and all that kind of stuff? It's more of a safer area. Mountain.
But I mean, they don't give us any problems. Shoot, you rarely see them. You see their tracks more than you see them, but there's quite a few out there. So.
And they always say they're watching you though, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's you. It feels to me like you're living every man's best dream.
I've dreamed of this since I was a kid, and I'm living my dream. So that's all I can ask for. So
that's pretty awesome. You get world-class hunting, world-class fishing. You spent I don't want to say you put your time in Alaska, but everybody wants to move to Alaska or spend some time in Alaska, and you got to do that, right? And everything is what's been your favorite, is there a favorite time
or favorite part of your life? Is it now? Was it Alaska, or or is it the forward part of it, or what's coming up, or?
That's a good question. I think my favorite part of my life is just right now because everything's clicking. I've had these dreams and we're putting them to reality. And uh, like I was saying earlier, I miss Alaska almost every day of my life. Like Alaska was awesome. And I got to say, if anybody's ever thinking about moving to Alaska, do it. And I don't know, maybe have a plan that at someday you're going to come back to reality down in the States. But yeah, I don't know, to say my favorite part of my life is just living in the moment right now, and yeah.
I was gonna say, because you not only got to go to Alaska, you got to come back to Montana. It's not like you have to come back to, I don't know, Northern Virginia or Chicago or someplace like that. You got to come back to Montana, of all the places too, which is pretty awesome in general to have that, to come from there and to do all these things. And so when you were a kid, did you always want to work with wildlife and kind of, was that kind of a dream of yours? If it was, the state, or you were running your own business, or?
Yep. Just growing up in a really outdoorsy family, we were always hunting, always fishing. I knew that's where my passion laid, was in the outdoors with fisheries and wildlife. And I've been through numerous careers in my life, and you talk to some people and you're like, oh man, my job sucks right now. And they're like, every job sucks. And it's, well, not necessarily, I mean, there's ways to make money, to make a living. It may not be the most fruitful living, and you may not be living high off the hog and stuff, but there's ways to do it, to be happy every day, and enjoy what you do. And even now, I mean, yeah, there's days that suck when it's raining and thunderstorming and we're out there fishing and it's blowing 30 miles an hour. And I always leave it up to the clients. And if they're gung ho to say yes, then we're doing it. So.
Yeah, I mean, that is something to say. Like they said, money can't buy happiness, but at the same token, you're, taking less money to be happy, right? To be at a place where you want to, because everybody could, you could obviously move off into a more populated area where, jobs make more and living, all that kind of stuff. Or you can choose to be someplace where you wake up every day and you get to get on a reservoir and look at the beautiful shores and all that stuff. And
that's what I'm in life for right there, is just enjoying it and taking it all in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One last question I had for you. How's the wind out there?
Well, if it's blowing less than 25 miles an hour, that's a really good day.
Wow.
But
so is that a big part of fishing then? The wind is, or is it you guys just are used to it?
No, you got to learn how to fish in the wind, because I mean, Fort Peck being a big reservoir, 25 mile an hour wind, you'll have 3.5 to 5.5 foot waves out there, and you got to learn how to fish in it. I mean, that's an everyday occurrence. It seems like some summers are calmer than others, some are windier than others. It seems like we've had a fairly windy year this year, but there's been a lot of good days too.
So is Montana generally windy, or does it have to do with kind of blowing through the?
Yeah, for the most part, we're pretty windy. With the Rocky Mountain front there, it all starts there, coming this way. And yeah, so we get a lot of wind.
Yeah. So question for you. This is going to be, I think this might be the hardest question not hardest question I asked, but hardest one for somebody to answer because of what you've done so far. So if you could only do one more thing, go fishing one more time, who you taking, what you doing, and where you going? And you've done so much, so that's I'm like this guy's got a hell of a question coming up here because you've been everywhere.
I haven't been everywhere, but I've fished a lot of different species, and that's something I kind of pride myself on, is being a very well-rounded multi-species fisherman. And whether it being going and catfishing off the bank or even throwing some slip bobbers for some panfish, But one of my favorite fishing trips I did was when I was working in Alaska. I was out fishing for kings, and one of the villagers came up and he told me, local guy, and he told me, he's like, "Why are you fishing for them? You know, there's sheefish coming up the river right now." And I'm like, "Sheefish? What the heck's a sheefish?" And so he took me out, and we're throwing these big paddle tails that are like 8-inch long with a 1-ounce jig head. And we're bouncing them on the bottom of the Yukon River at this. There's a clear little estuary coming in, and we're bouncing it down there, and boom, hooked into it. And it was like hooking into a Volkswagen down there. And it was like probably a 45 pound sheefish. And they look just like a tarpon. They call them the tarpon of the north.
Wow.
And yeah, they were cool. That was fun. We would catch, I don't know, 30, 40 in a couple hours, just bouncing that big paddle tail down there on the bottom.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned catfish. Tell me about catfishing out there. I saw some of your pictures. They look like there's some big fish out there.
Yeah. We're not like the Mississippi or the Missouri. Well, we are on the Missouri, but we're not like the lower Missouri,
Yep.
that get the big blues and the big flatheads and stuff. I think the state record channel cat's right around 30 pounds right now, and that's a big cat. Like you go out and if you catch a 20-pound catfish, that's a big cat around here. But we have a lot of rivers that support really good populations of catfishing, and I just helped another guy film an episode here a couple months back, and we went and fished the Yellowstone. And I think the first day filming, we caught, probably 30, 40 catfish, all from that 4 pounds to 8 pound mark, And
I would not have guessed that about
yeah,
Montana. It didn't. Yeah, I was just thinking trout, walleyes, and catfish would not have come across my radar out there.
and so that was the whole purpose of filming that episode, was just to bring catfish into the light, like another opportunity for people. Right. And there's a pretty big catfish scene. There's a tournament circuit that goes through Montana and stuff. And there's a handful of different rivers around, especially right here in Fort Peck area, that have some really good catfishing. So,
oh, that's crazy.
Never
would have guessed it. So what is there like a tournament scene for walleyes out there, or just local tournaments? Or I know the big tournaments come every few years, but you guys have your own local kind of stuff out there. What's that look like?
So there's the Montana circuit, and then there's the Fort Peck Lake circuit. Okay. And right now it's pretty incredible watching the top weights come in. We had one tournament further west of Fort Peck Reservoir. The winning weight was 140 pounds on 2 days. Like that's insane. 14-pound average. And then a lot of the Fort Peck tournaments, they're all hitting 100+ pounds. I mean, if you're not hitting 50 pounds a day, you're not in the money. That's crazy.
So what's a big? Obviously, everyone wants 30-inch fish, but obviously Fort Peck produces them much larger than that. So what would be a trophy fish on a Fort Peck?
In my eyes, it's very similar to anywhere. You get that 28 and above, and it's a big fish. It's a big walleye. Mm-hmm. It's not like 30 inches are hiding under every rock in Fort Peck. Yeah. You catch a 30, that's a good one. You start getting into that 32, 33, 34. Those are exceptional fish. Especially if you catch them in like spring or fall when they're nice and plump. Yeah.
What's the record out there? What's the state record out there? Is it out of Fort Peck?
No, it is not. Ooh, that is a good question. I should know where it's at, and I don't right now. But it's like 17 pounds, I want to say.
I mean, you would think it's going to come out of Fort Peck sooner or later, right?
Well, we've been saying that since the 90s.
Right? It's going to find that.
Yeah, I think there's a reservoir further west of here that's about to pop that here very soon. It's one that they fished the tournaments on that was putting up 140 pounds in 2 days, and it's like, yeah, that one's going to pop the state record here very soon. I have a feeling. Fort Peck, I know the state record's in there, but it's such a huge body of water with 130 miles to cover, it's like, it's in there. I just don't know where.
And that's funny too, is people think of Montana. I mean, there's other great walleye fisheries there, right? It's not just Fort Peck.
Right.
There's other good places to fish out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's all across the state, all the way up to the Rocky Mountain front. We have walleye waters all over, and even these little ponds like Nelson Reservoir I was talking about. It's not a very big reservoir. It's pretty small in the grand scheme of things, and it's phenomenal fishing, And there's a lot of these little potholes too that maybe not so much as like the Glacier Lakes area in South Dakota and some of the potholes in North Dakota. We don't have as many as that, but there's a lot of little potholes that are hidden gems,
That's cool. I mean, as for a guy, I mean, that's gotta be awesome for a guide, right? I mean, you just got, all these places. So what are people looking when they're giving you a call? What are they looking to do? Is walleye fishing, salmon fishing?
It's most of the time it's big walleye on Fort Peck, lake trout on Fort Peck. Oh, sorry. Or Chinook salmon. So
is that a local crowd, or are you getting outside the more Montana-ish or South Dakota, North Dakota kind of thing, bringing people? Are people coming in like that yet for it, or is it kind of more of a local?
Yeah, we get a lot of people, a lot of Minnesota, Wisconsin. We get a lot of that. Washington people, they got to come over and check out our salmon fishing and see just how different it is. Yeah, we're getting a bigger influx of people coming for different things. I mean, Fort Peck has so much to offer where you can go catch Chinook salmon, walleye, and lake trout and pike and smallmouth bass all within 5 minutes of each other, so that's a pretty big draw. As far as the demographic, I would say it's pretty much 50-50. And I could say that even towards hunting too, it's a pretty 50-50 split. We get a lot of locals, a lot of residents, and a lot of non-residents. And yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if people are looking to hook up with you and hire you, where can they find you and all that kind of fun stuff?
You can follow me on Fort Peck Fishing Guides on Facebook. You can get a hold of my outfitter, who is Joe Brunkel at Get the Net Guide Service. Yeah, and just hit me up and we'll go from there. Talk
Awesome.
about fishing anyway. So
it was great talking with you. I've been so interested about the Fort Peck thing, and to watch the tournaments and looking at the lake and being like, man, I don't even know where to start. I kind of want to get some information on the inside of what it's really like out there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
To make sure I firmly put that one on my destination list coming up in the next few years. So if you're looking to be on an episode of Walleye Chronicles, hit me up on my socials at Matt Snell on Facebook or Instagram, and at Smile and Fish on TikTok. And remember, there's 2 things you can do every day to give somebody a good day. 1 is give them a smile, and 2, take them fishing. Thanks a lot, Lars.